creators get engagement and businesses get sales. So who's actually winning the game of social media?
Big topic. Welcome to the Social Edge podcast. I'm Isho.
And I'm Georgia.
And today we're unpacking the tension between content creators and business owners.
So creators get engagement and businesses get sales. So who's actually winning the game of social media? And should brands act more like influencers, or should influencers start treating themselves like businesses? And what can we learn from both? That's what we're talking about today.
Big topic.
It is a big topic.
Very big.
And it's also the topic that always sort of comes up with our clients. When they're personal brands, they're wondering, like, should they be more like an influencer? When they're businesses, they're thinking, like, why are these influencers getting so much engagement? And should they be more like them?
Yeah.
So, like, it's a real, like, difficult question to balance, really.
That's it. And I think I love what you said. It's all coming back from experience and what we are facing or have faced. So for those of you who are watching, these are really great practical points. If you're taking notes or you want to apply some of this feedback, is really, really helpful. So, G, I want to start with this question for you. Why do creators dominate engagement while businesses struggle?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to, like, what are they putting online? In our episode 1, we were talking about authenticity, about your online presence being your shop window.
That's it.
And I think, like, creators are good at being a personality online, whereas businesses are often faceless and therefore they struggle to present their brand.
Yeah.
But what we were sort of mentioning in episode 1, and if you haven't watched that yet, you should go back and watch it.
Yeah.
We were talking about how you are kind of presenting your business online, and therefore it's really good if you know your culture, your core values of your business, what you're trying to achieve as a business internally, and then therefore for your clients, you're gonna, once you've got that bit nailed, you're gonna present a more authentic image online, a more authentic brand. And that's going to help you create some personality behind your brand. Like we were talking about our own socials and we were saying that, you know, our personality, our employee generated content sort of demonstrates our culture, our brand, and that's sort of coming into and spilling into our shop window, our social media presence. And I think that's where maybe businesses are going a little bit wrong on socials, or not necessarily going wrong. It's why they're not getting engagement. So, you know, their socials are like brandless, or like they've got their brand, but they've not got a face. And it's not just about having a face. It's just about showing a personality. Like Nike.
Yeah. There we go.
Nike.
Doesn't say Nike.
We're both.
But
doesn't say Nike, but we know it's Nike, and we're both sporting it.
That's it. Let's
go. And obviously it's like one of the most common brands that have just kind of got it right. Yeah.
Absolutely. So to the point where we're wearing Nike socks with Nike shoes.
Are we both wearing Nike socks? Actually, mine are Ralph. But even if I do have some Nike socks at home. So the point is,
thinking of like the high level, right, is going, oh, I like Nike for the quality. Yeah. They're communicating, just do it. Don't think about it too much. Just get out there.
Do it.
Just do it. So when you're buying the Nike shoes, just do it and buy Nike socks.
And also, like, when you think about it, like, these are like not athletic shoes, even though that was the original brand of Nike, right? Athletic. Yeah. They've like slid into
progressed in a different direction.
Yeah, like everyday shoes.
Yeah.
And become a fashion piece. Yeah. That's very common. Absolutely. A lot of people wearing it. Now, we understand the brand of Nike, even though they haven't got a face, even though there's no personal brand element. And yet we understand what Nike is about. And, you know, with Nike, you're getting a certain level of quality.
Absolutely.
You know what you're going to get.
And I think I guess what brings the two, both personal brands and businesses in terms of content creators there, is the storytelling. Yeah. They both have to tell a story. Yeah. The difference is one is obviously selling a product and one is selling an experience.
Yeah, or selling their story in order to get like brand collabs, etc. Right. Yeah. And I think like people follow people, not logos. Yeah. So we're not wearing Nike shoes because of the logo necessarily. We're wearing Nike shoes because they're what's cool right now.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right?
That is the trend. Yeah, absolutely.
This is the trend. People are wearing it. It looks good. They've been around for a while, but we're sort of, we're actually following probably people who've worn Nike shoes and look cool. And that's why we're wearing Nike shoes.
And it's probably subconscious. That's the other side of it, right? I haven't even thought about buying pandas, for example. I think I just did it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about, that their message of, elevated branding, something cool, something trendy, is communicated to me, somebody that actually isn't very cool or knows how to dress. Shout out to my girlfriend.
You're cool.
No, but my girlfriend dresses me. Shout out. But it's like even that just communicates they've taken time to really consider what is their message, what does it look like, and by the end of somebody seeing, hearing, consuming their content, makes a decision, which is the purchase, the experience, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I agree. So should business owners start acting like influencers?
Not necessarily, I think, but it's important to humanize what is being talked about or what is being sold or communicated. You need people to experience, hold on a minute, where are people in their life journey, and no matter where they are, will the thing that they see, hear, or are giving attention to, making them take action, right? It's all about stop, take action, consume the information.
Yeah.
That's the final goal. It's like, for a business would be the ROI, like somebody's giving you their time. Are they going to spend money now with you? For a content creator would be, okay, I've watched your 30-second reel. Am I going to like it? And am I going to comment? And more than that, will I go back to their profile to maybe follow and then continue to watch continuous reels?
Yeah, and I think you can humanize your brand without adding your face. But equally, there are some founder-led brands who have done it really well. So let's talk about some obvious ones. We've got Alex Hormozi, right? So he had a content first approach before monetizing. So he became an expert in his field. Yeah. He was presenting all this content, showing his skill set, who he is, how amazing his knowledge base is. People started to follow him. And then he launches something to monetize off the back of that.
Acquisition.com, absolutely.
And now anyone who knows Hormozi knows about acquisition.com.
Yeah. Or School, he's got his recent School app that came out.
But no one really is School or acquisition.com. They're Alex Hormozi.
That's it.
Right? And then Leila Hormozi as well. She's done the exact same thing.
The interesting thing that happened there, and it's so rare, he found a gap in the market, which was at the beginning of his journey, he had a personal brand. He was doing gym launch and he was really focusing on that. It was all about his personality to make sales, to transform gyms. Then acquisition.com was a much bigger business, which then really blew up. And what he kind of shifted from is recognizing that content creators either focus too much on the clients and they don't create content to blow up, or they're really big business that strives for sales and growth, but don't film a lot of content to monetize that. So what he did was he found the balance between the two. Yeah. Right? He realized that actually I have a successful business that produces a lot of ROI, but also I'm the personal brand that can 10x that. So driving that funnel. So when they hear Alex
Hormozi, a dual approach. Yeah. So it's and I was just thinking, right, thinking about what we just said, and should we humanize a brand, and how can you humanize a brand? Yeah. And we've talked a bit about employee generated content. One way to and what we've done with these studios, I didn't want to be the only face of our brand. I wanted it to be a multi-face brand. So you can humanize the brand by letting your employees partake in the content creation for the brand, but not making it about one person. That way, it's East Studios is a brand of its own. It has a brand image. It then has many faces that make up the brand. But everyone has a role in that brand. Absolutely. And people know who are those different roles. Clients know who are the different roles. So you can still humanize a brand. It doesn't have to be around a single face. And you can still then use, if you wanted your own personal brand as a business owner, you can then, that's what I would say is a good strategy. it works for some of our clients. They would have their business organization brand that may have many faces, or it can have a human element. And you can humanize a brand like we've discussed Nike anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
By not having the employees, you can have like models, or like Nike obviously uses a particular kind of model to represent their brand, etc. And obviously lots of big brands do that. So you don't have to use employees, but that's one approach. But then, also then having a personal brand for you as like maybe the CEO or founder, you can utilize your personal brand like Hormozi does, then to drive traffic.
That's it. Do you think then, just thinking out loud for some of our viewers that might have this question pop up in their mind, do you think there's fear of, let's say with these studios, we have our team jump on there, do reels. Do you think sometimes business owners or people that are the face of a company sometimes maybe are nervous or hesitant to bring another face because of what that might look like in terms of releasing control and then maybe the business shifting?
Yeah. And that's a risk, right? Shifting, and like, you with employees or team members, if you're going to bring them into your brand, they may then leave the business or they may go elsewhere. But I think like, as long as you've got your culture right, you know what you're delivering as a business, and then you've got your team sharing that message. And they're doing it in a way that's authentic to you and like resonates with what you want the business to share, then I do feel like you can do that, and you can do it really well. Sometimes we've had times, and I'm going to laugh about this, but we've had times where like team members have put up a TikTok and it was like, that doesn't resonate with our brand.
It's funny.
It's
engaging.
It's trending, but it's not actually what we want to share online. And we've had that conversation, and we've taken the post down, etc. I think you've got to sometimes release a bit of control in order to grow. And like, I think that's just one way of doing it, right? To bring your employees in. The other way is like utilizing like people in your branding, and you can make it work if you're a faceless brand. But I do think there's room for that. And I think like, if we're asking the question, should you humanize your brand? Should you build a brand around your brand? Like a personal brand for yourself? I do think there's room for that. I do think that depending on your appetite and what you want to do, you can do both. You can do one or the other and maybe do what works for you.
Maybe also there is a stigma around content creators, personal brands, perhaps have less pressure in experimenting, where business owners might think because we're a business, we have less room. But actually, I think there is a lot of space, room, and perhaps requires boldness for brands to step out and elevate. Do you remember was it Jaguar that changed their logo last year from, I don't know if it was Jaguar, one of the car brands changed their logo from, since they came out for many, many years, they had a great logo, and then one day just woke up, changed the logo, and it had nothing to do with the car.
Kia changed the way their cars look, they updated their brand. I think this is something that I really struggled with as like an entrepreneur, and like in my journey of developing a business. I used to think it had to be perfect first time. And you've helped me see this. Like, we talked about on the first episode about imperfection and like imperfect action.
That's it.
And actually, I really think like you want to put your best image forward. But you know what? If you're a brand and you're a business and you want to rebrand because your brand isn't quite right. I remember when I worked in the law firm, and they'd had the same logo and branding for years. And it was like blue and very corporate and a bit boring. And then they changed to this really dynamic sort of like sans serif font.
Fresh looking.
It was like a pink brand. And I was like, ooh, it's like so fresh. And it was to kind of convey what the firm could deliver, right? Which was, and the type of people that work for the firm, friendly, approachable. And like, actually that firm this year got like Law Firm of the Year. And I think, maybe the brand change a couple of years back, or a few years back now, has been instrumental in them repositioning themselves in the marketplace. So what I would say is, whether you're a business or an individual, even for businesses like specifically relating to your question, should businesses be willing to experiment, to change, to evolve? Yes, because if you don't evolve as you grow, as you're changing, as your business changes, you will get stuck. Our beginning brand for East Studios, like we've kept the same logo and evolved it. We've added more colors to our brand guidelines. We've adapted how we play with that brand. It's actually the same brand, but we've elevated how it appears online, and we've kept tweaking and changing that.
Because the market needed it.
Because the market's changed, because what looks good online has changed. Like the social platforms, the algorithms have changed. How the social media presents your brand is different now. So in order for a business to keep elevating, you have to change.
Absolutely.
So I think, yes, there is a bit more pressure because like if you keep changing every week, that would be a problem.
Of course.
However, I think there's room to stick within your brand guidelines and keep elevating and changing and tweaking and
what was the saying? Tiny lever shifts, massive angle direction change.
Yes. It's like I think it's funny because I think sometimes we can get fixated, can't we? On like our brand and like, we don't want to change that because that's our brand. But at the same time, if you're willing to make a subtle tweak, you might see a big shift in your engagement. You might see a big shift in your appearance online. And I think it's that willingness to keep evolving that's going to really help brands on social media. So
love that.
Okay, let's sort of like shift the question a little bit then. We want to talk about personality-led marketing. So having a clear brand voice, a recognizable tone, and a strong point of view, like where are you seeing like that working well for people? Like, can you think of any brands that are, we've said about Alex Hormozi, anyone else like jump out at you as like someone who's done that well? Maybe like Stephen Bartlett.
Stephen Bartlett has done a great job as well, with Diary of a CEO, with the podcast. He's actually a perfect example to talk about imperfect action. Now, for our viewers, if you wanted to go and check Diary of a CEO and scroll right at the beginning when he started, there's a difference in the way, the podcast was shot, in the quality, the number of cameras, the angles, the lighting, and the evolution through which the experience was portrayed. Right? And then when the success of the podcast increased, the personal touch on the podcast has developed. What does that mean? The other day I was watching a podcast episode with him and Alex Hormozi. And one of the things Alex touched on the back of this is he mentioned, because Alex Hormozi has done 3 or 4 episodes, I think, with Stephen. He said one of the greatest personal touches you've added to your podcast is at the end, you do two things. Number one, you ask the guest to leave a question for the next person that's going to come in and speak. But number two, you give them a photo or an album of a bunch of photos live there and then during the podcast episode as it's happening, as the guest leaves, to have that and to kind of remember the experience. What is Stephen done? He wants the guest to feel honored to be on part of the podcast and to feel valued. But more than that, when they walk away, they think, wow, I had a great experience with Stephen. I have memory to look back on it. And when I think about somebody or a podcast to recommend, who do I think of? The personal touch of the branding. It's not visible for the audience. But it will be in Alex's mouth next time a podcast conversation comes about, perhaps, something like that. But there's a lot of points on it. I know I touched on a few things from visuals in front of the public and then the back end of the actual practical experience for...
And I feel like one thing that is jumping out of me from what you just said is like, actually, we think about the Diary of a CEO and Stephen Bartlett as one in the same. It's like interchangeable now. When people think Diary of a CEO, they think Stephen Bartlett, vice versa, right? So that's a perfect actually example of someone who has like a human element of their brand, their personal brand, and then their business brand. Obviously, it's his podcast. But like, we know who Stephen is and what he stands for and his character and everything that he does because of his podcast.
That's it.
So actually, like, there's an element there where it's like he has created that recognizable tone, strong point of view. We know what he stands for by the way he communicates in his podcast. But equally, he's sort of giving people a sort of like behind the scenes of the
side
kind of
door,
things that he's thinking about as a like world-class marketer.
And even on top of that, he's got these cards that now they've turned into a game of all of the questions all of the guests have asked one another.
Yeah.
And you can basically buy that online on Amazon, and you can play it with your friends and family, ask the same questions, and get a personal response from the person that you're talking with.
That's so cool.
Which is crazy, because it became what once was just a conversational topic for his podcast to grow the brand and expand the conversation and make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Now has become a side hustle in a way.
A side hustle, yeah.
But also brings it back to, where did you get these? Oh, through Steven's podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy, right?
So when we kind of come back to our initial question of like, who's really winning online, business owners or creators, like, I think it's just understanding that there's a difference in what they're trying to achieve. So a creator is more likely than not, they start their platforms because they're doing it for personal enjoyment, passion projects, that kind of thing. And then off the back of that, they may be hoping to get affiliate deals, brand deals. They're trying to bring revenue to themselves. And then often what they do, just like you've just explained, they then will launch either a business or a side hustle or something out of the back of that. So they're like, they might produce like a product or an e-com out of it. Whereas a business platform is usually like, you've already got the business, you've already got the services or what you're trying to sell.
That's it.
And we tend to work with service-based business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've already trying to sell something, and now what you're trying to you've got a proof of concept. You've already got clients. You're already doing well. Now what you're trying to do is you're trying to present your image online. So I think what's really important is just understanding that you're not in competition with creators. You're not striving for the same audience. Like I think as well, it's funny, isn't it? Because in sales, you're competing with your competitors to get that pound or that dollar from your ideal client. So you're hoping that they will come to you. That's it. But online, it's never ending. Like we can follow as many people as we want to follow. And you can, like, your one follower can be your competitor's follower. So you're not competing for the same pound or the same dollar. But
you're competing for attention.
You are competing for attention. Right. And then for our clients, you're competing for that shop window, becomes the offer, becomes the acceptance, and they convert into an actual client.
That's it.
So what you're trying to do as an online brand, a business, a service provider, a personal brand, is you're trying to convert your audience. So what you're not just creating content for content's sake so that you get that affiliation. You are creating content to push people through your customer journey, through your funnel.
Yeah, your funnel, absolutely. And I think one of the words that we need to mention here is a keyword, value.
Yeah.
Content creators, businesses, you have to stop for a minute and think, everything that I'm doing, is it communicating valuable content?
Yeah.
Is whatever attention, because nowadays, our attention is all that matters.
Yeah.
How much time you can spend on something is so important. And if people can't get something in return on the back of that, your message is most likely not going to hit.
Yeah.
Right? So what is the value that you're producing, and where are you driving people? Because it's all about action.
Yes. And also coming back to that, like, if it's not working, just change it, right?
That's it.
Stop getting fixated on like it not being perfect. Just be willing to tweak it. Like with our clients, I think sometimes and not even our clients, but potential clients, what that people sometimes are looking for is that perfect message first time. But we see the most success when someone is willing or a business is willing to allow that constant tweaking. We're always tweaking our messages.
Oh my gosh, all the time.
And we were talking just the other day about Mr. Beast.
Yes.
Right? The success of Mr. Beast.
Absolutely.
He is the king of tweaking. So like Yestin and our team, shout out to Yestin, was showing me this funny video about how many times Mr. Beast changes a single thumbnail on a single YouTube video. And it's like hundreds of tweaks.
Oh my gosh.
And different titles. And it's like they're changing the color of a jumper from blue to red to pink to like, just to see whether that produces more engagement. And we've talked about other people, how they'll tweak a funnel over and over and over again. I think with social media, the difference is obviously it's different with YouTube because those videos can keep performing. But with like say Instagram or TikTok, you're producing a piece of content, and even though these platforms are changing so that those videos can stay relevant for more time, like Instagram now we can pin our posts, and this new feature's coming out that you can tweet, like change the order of things. So you are able to sort of like keep attention on a single post for longer and keep that trending again and again and again. But nevertheless, it's still a feed-based platform. So in one sense, people think, oh, it has to be perfect now in terms of their image. But actually, if that didn't resonate, try something different and then see if that resonates, and then try something different again. And if it works, why did it work? Figure out, and then try to do that again in a different way. That's what we do, right? 100%. That's that test and tweak and test and tweak.
It makes me think about the other conversation we had last week about metrics as well. And this will be another conversation perhaps we'll have on another episode, but I just want to touch on it slightly, is being able to review, part of you figuring out what's working and what's not is looking at those analytics. And one of the things that we discovered that on some of the pieces of content that we post, we get a lot more fresh audience, non-followers engaging with the content. So once you know that actually a lot of people that are not following you are engaging with the content, for example, a good piece of feedback is, what is the CTA? Random people have just clicked and watched your video. On the back of that, you should be going, hey, follow me for more, or here's a little freebie, or comment this word to get whatever. I think that's the important part that people often forget, is just looking at the views. Oh, there's just got 200 views. Yes, but what if 90% of the 200 is non-followers?
Yeah.
That's 200 people that you've just missed on.
Yes,
right?
100%. And I think like this is the thing as well. Like in the past, people got fixated on how many followers they have. But one of the things, like we're talking now about like the difference between a creator and the business owner. A creator will be fixed on their follower count, views, likes.
That's it.
A business owner is more considering what is their ROI.
That's it. What's conversion?
What's the click-through? Right? So if your piece of content doesn't have loads of likes, but they've clicked through to your funnel, and then your funnel is generating sales, then who's winning?
The right person. What if those 200 people are your perfect audience?
Your perfect.
Right?
Yeah, you've got your
customer
perfect
type.
niche audience, and then they're turning into clients. Then it's more important to have a niche, smaller following that is doing really well than massive amount of views and massive amount of followers, but you're not getting any conversions.
I echo
then
that.
Like something's not right there, right? Like we were talking the other day, or I was talking to someone about because they were saying like we want to use influencers in our campaigns, and but they want so much money, and I said to them, well, why don't you start targeting micro influencers who have a loyal like 2,000 to 10,000 following, where they're getting great engagement, because their niche following is more likely to give you sales, and you're going to pay them less than these massive influencers or these massive creators or these massive celebrities. They're gonna expect more, and they're gonna deliver less, and their audience might not even be engaged.
And that's imperfect action. Like you can still keep the vision of wanting to get the bigger influence, the person that's very famous, but you can work towards that.
Work towards it, yeah.
I want to ask you this question because we're talking sales, and I think it's really awesome. Can you sell without being an influencer?
I think yes.
And I want you to consider this though, both in a product sense, but also in attention.
Yeah.
Right?
I think like, okay, so let's break it down. Can you sell if you're not an influencer? I am a big believer in there's room in the world for everyone. You know, there's room for more social media agencies. There's room for more marketers. There's room for more whatever your business is, right? Don't fall into the trap of thinking just because someone else is doing it that you can't.
That's it.
There's like a piece of the pie for everyone. I'm a big believer in that. Absolutely. I'm a cup half full kind of girl.
I echo that.
And
for sure.
I just think like you need to get out of your head and give it a go. So like, yes, you can sell whatever you're trying to sell without being an influencer.
Yeah.
But I think what is important is trust.
Yes.
And credibility.
Yes.
And obviously the way you can convey that is your testimonials, your client testimonials. So if you've done a good job for someone, capture that in a testimonial, written, video, whatever it might be, like get some form of feedback to show that you do what you say you're going to do. But also I think like trust is conveyed by a conversation. So like, like if you, like I've worked with other businesses as well, like, you know, we use other businesses sometimes, like, or a service. And you can have a conversation with someone, you immediately know if they know what they're talking about, right? Like I come from different backgrounds. This just reminded me of something. Yeah, like I come from a different background sometimes because of my corporate law experience. Like I can sit on a call with someone, like in terms of like a service I'm receiving, and in seconds I'm like, I know if you know really what you're talking about, or if you're just like winging it. Like you know that those, like you're having a conversation, it's like fluff coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I would say you don't have to be an influencer to grow your business online, but you do need to know what you're doing, and you need to know what you're talking about, and you need to be able to deliver on what you're selling. So this is what we were coming back to on episode 1 about authenticity. So I just think what's more important is not about having that huge like following or whatever. It's just about like, can you deliver what you say you're delivering? Like there's no point saying that you can do this if you can't. Like it's like, do you remember like when you were doing your CVs when you were young?
Oh my gosh.
And then like, people would say, don't lie on your CV.
I was putting everything on there.
Oh my gosh, I never did.
Babysat my uncle's daughter. What?
I got an A star in GCSE science and you didn't. Like I remember like someone saying like, oh, you should never lie on your CV because if you get found out, it's going to be worse than if you just told the truth. Like it's the same thing, right? When it comes to your social media. If you can actually deliver what you say you're going to deliver, then that stands for so much more than you trying to sell the world and then not deliver. Like,
that's it.
What is it? Under promise, over deliver, not over promise, under deliver.
That's exactly that. Yeah, and I love that. I love that these 2 episodes that we've released, again, if you haven't checked out the previous episode on authenticity, go and check it out because it really greatly comes into play with this episode now. But I love that. I think it's all about your ability and knowing how to convey truthfully what you can do and let your results speak for themselves.
Or build authority. Basically build your authority like the Hormozis, the Gary V's have. Like build a bit of authority online and then launch your business. Like that's an opportunity to do 100%. That. Or you don't have to do one and then the other. Do it as you go. Like create that space, like start a podcast or like share who you are, like do something to show that you can do what you say you're going to do. Or just like demonstrate it, right? Like we do editing as part of our package, are like done for you. Well, therefore our videos demonstrate that we know how to edit, right? It's like it's like indirect.
We have a lot of great episodes coming up on the back of this. I'm so stoked about it because this is really unpacking a lot of great content, a lot of great tips for upcoming content creators, business owners. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and I think we'll just finish with this. Creators and business owners have the same goal. So you guys have the same goal, whether you're a creator or a business owner. You want to get attention and you want to get trust. And when you get those 2 things, you're going to be able to convert your audience however you want to convert them. So the ones who win are the ones who master both. So if you're mastering both, you're doing a great job. And that's it.
That's it. See you in the next episode.